Good evening, everyone. Today I'm back and we will be learning something more about classes and objects. Let's begin. In the last lecture, I completed till objects, like I just introduced what objects are, and I showed you this example, like where there is a class, my class, and with the public, under the public access specifier, I have two data members, that is an integer value and a string. So these are the two attributes, and I have assigned few values in the main function by creating the object of my class, and I have shown you the output. So the output will be 15 and in words it will be 15. So as you all know, like creating a class and creating the respective objects, like it just acts like other data types. Like integer is a data type, and you can create as many variables of integer data type you want. In the similar way, you can create as much objects as you want of any class you have created. Like in here in the example, inside the main function I have created one class object, that is my class, my object, my obj, that is the one first object, and the second object, my obj2, is another object of my class. So here I have assigned two different values to their attributes, that is the my num and my string, using this dot operator, and the output will be respectively their values. So yeah, that is the main baseline, is we can have as many objects as we want of a particular class. And coming to the access specifiers. So yeah, during the creation, like you have seen only public, this keyword, right? So in C++, there are basically three access specifiers. So public, private, and protected. So all these three access specifiers have their own advantage, and I'll just give you a knowledge about what these three access specifier does. So first of all, the public access specifier, all the data members under this access specifier are accessible from the outside of the class. Like here in the previous example, and also here you saw like my obj dot x. So here dot x is used to access the x value data member inside the class, and here x is under the public access specifier, that is the public attribute, and here y is under the private access specifier, so it is a private attribute, and whenever you will try to access the value of y, it will just raise an error and it is not allowed. So yeah, of course, less error, it's more easy. So now next is private access specifier. So under the private access specifier, the members cannot be accessed or viewed from the outside of the class. Like whenever you want to change any private member or something, you need to have other public functions like get or set functions, about which I will be telling you further, or else you can't change the value of the private members. So private means something that we don't want others to know about. So just like that, the private members cannot be accessed from outside of the class. So next is our protected access specifier. So here the members cannot be accessed from outside the class. It means it is just like the private members, but however they can be accessed in inherited class. So further we will be learning about inheritance principle that comes under this object oriented programming, and we will be learning how other classes can be inherited or derived. So there comes the concept of protected data members. I will be telling you about that. So and by default all the members of a class are private. Like here I have written public and written integer x below that, and here I have written private and written integer y below that. If I forget to mention, or I don't specify which kind of access specifier or which type of attribute I want to declare, like I don't use anything like public, private, or protected, then by default it becomes private. Like everything, like all the attributes inside the class definition will be private and cannot be accessed from outside. So let's take an example. So this is a drawer that is inside my house, and my dad keeps his official documents and paperwork and suitcase and all, etc. So here, here, this second rack is for documents and paperwork, and in the first rack it is locked, and there is a bag inside. I know that there is a bag inside because I am of his family. So uh, he sends, he has some work with that suitcase and the paperwork inside that. So he sends some of his office guy, and he comes and asks to get that back. So being a family member, I have the key to that first drawer, like the first rack. So we can say that the public, that is anyone who is not of our class or of our family, can see and can touch this drawer, but whatever inside is that suitcase, that is locked. So I am a private member, that is I am related to my dad, so I can just open the drawer because I have a key to that locked rack, and I can just take that suitcase out and give it to my dad's office guy. But thing is, we can here take this thing as public, and here this is a private thing, because only I can have access to this drawer or this rack. So but whatever, so consider it as private thing, and I'm office class, so I can have access. But whatever is inside this suitcase, that is for example, let's take, there are some papers, and there is the information regarding all those bond papers and all of our property. So consider that as something that is protected. So whenever I will inherit something from my dad, that is regarding this property and all, so I can have access to that. So that is protected, we can say, because as of now I don't have any access, but later on I can have access because I am part of his family, I am his daughter, and I am going to inherit that property further in future. So yeah, the documents, the property documents inside the suitcase are protected members, and as I have access, being a part of this family, I have access to this upper drawer. So we can consider it as something a private property, because no one has access to that except a family member, not even that office guy. And the outside this box and all, we can say it is public. Okay, so that's me on my way to inherit my dad's property, and those are the paperworks. So next we'll learn about class methods. So class methods are nothing but the functions that belongs to the class. So here, for example, I have declared a function, my method, in the public, under the public access specifier, and here I can have access outside the class. Any object can have access to this function. So inside, I have defined the function, that is the function definition is inside the class itself. So that is one type of, so any function of any class methods can have two type of definition: inside class definition or outside class definition. Here it is the inside class definition, and for defining any function outside the class, we need to declare or just show that there exists a function, and we'll just write the prototype here, and we can define the same function outside the class and under the scope resolution operator. Like here it is, as I have mentioned, that you have to declare it inside the class and define it outside the class, and that is done by using scope resolution operator followed by the name of the function. So here I need to write like my class, because it is a function of my class, and then scope resolution operator and then the name of the function. So the definition is obviously the same, and both the same things is just the same, because whether you define it outside the class or inside the class, it will be the same, my method function. But thing is, here we have, when we want to define any function outside the class, we need to use the scope resolution operator. Notice you need to access the methods just like you access attributes by creating an object of the class and by using the dot operator. So there is no difference, but the obviously the why to introduce such kind of thing? So there must be something used. So that is a higher level of thing. So you will be learning further when you get the basic knowledge about C++ and all these things. So next thing is parameters. So whenever we create any function, it can have 0 to n number of parameters. So just like that, whenever we create any class methods or we have any functions inside the class, we can give it any parameter as well. So here in the class for the class car, there is a function integer with the integer return type, and speed is the name of the function, and it is taking one integer parameter, that is the maximum speed. And it is whenever the definition is, it is just returning this maximum speed value. So here, like while creating the object, I'll just call that function because it is under the public access specifier. So the object can have access to this function, and I can pass any parameter, any integer parameter. Like here I have passed 200. So it will just go return the integer value and output will be 200. Next thing is constructor. So constructor is one of the important concept, and it is a special method that is automatically called when an object of a class is created. Like for example, take a human being. When a human baby is born, like hands, legs and all, everything are like a characteristics of human being. Okay, so whenever a kid is born, he has two hands or some legs and other body parts as well. So just like that, constructor gets automatically invoked whenever we create any object of a class. Like here, like for example, here it is example how a constructor actually looks. So it has no return type, and it has got the same name just like the class, with the parameter with the parenthesis, and inside there can or cannot be any function definition. So if you even if you don't declare any constructor, so it will be automatically invoked. But here is, for example, I will just put a statement that is cout constructor is called. So whenever a class is created, automatically my class function or this constructor is going to get called, and output will be constructor called. So the important thing is the constructor has got the same name as the class, and it is always public, so that the object can have access to this, and it does not have any return value. Apart from this constructor, we have also got another thing, that is destructor, which helps in deleting the object after we are done with our work, or after we are creating any object, the constructor gets invoked, and it does its work. And after we are done, we have completed the work, and anything any work is related to that object, then destructor is called, and that memory or where the object is allocated is just released, and destructor does its work. So destructor, just like that, is a single tilde character before this constructor. That is, a constructor with a tilde character is known as destructor. So about which I have not mentioned here, but you will definitely learn ahead. So next is constructor parameters. So as you all know, like functions I just now told, like they can have n number of parameters. So just like that, you can also give different function definitions or different constructor definitions, and constructor can be with or without parameters. So here I am declaring a constructor with three parameters, that is taking two strings and one integer value, and it is assigning the attributes or the other data members, that is the string brand, model and year, respectively the value. So constructors, they are just like regular functions here, and it can be just use of constructor with parameters is that they can be useful in setting initial values for attributes. Like for example, take like for a company member is joining, like the moment he joins, he gets an employee ID. So just like that, it can be useful to assign any member ID or any company nickname, you can say, that doesn't exist, but still. So here, like, I have created two objects and I have given different values to it. So whenever we ask it for showing the value of the brand, model and year, so it will show respectively the value. So first one will be BMW X5 and 2000, and second one it will be Ford Space Mustang Space 1940. So here, the same way as I told you, like any class methods, we can define it inside the class as well as outside. So here I have uh, like given the function or constructor definition outside the class. So name of the class, as this constructor has no return type, so no return type here, and name of the class, scope resolution operator, and then the constructor name with all the three parameters, and it is doing this work, it is assigning. So for this, whenever inside the main function, I have done the same, the created the two class objects, car obj1 and car obj2. So both the objects will get assigned some value, and here I have assigned the same value as the previous. So this piece of code and this piece of code is just the same, and you will not see any difference in their work. So now we will learn the four most important principles of object-oriented programming, that is the encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance and polymorphism. So we will be covering each concept one by one. So first of all, what is encapsulation? Encapsulation means it is just to make sure that the sensitive data is hidden from the users. It means you are just encapsulating something inside a capsule. So to achieve this, you must declare class variables or attributes as private that cannot be accessed from outside of the class. So as we are hiding something, like we are encapsulating something inside a capsule, so obviously we don't want the outside world to know what is inside that. So for that, the class variables and attributes are declared as private. So if you want others to read or modify the value of the private members that is being encapsulated, so you can provide the public get and set methods. So like here, you can see that is the employee class, and under the private access specifier there is a private attribute that is integer salary, because the salary is known to the employee, and it is a private thing, so it is not visible to outside of the outside members, so it is encapsulated. So if you want to read or modify the value of the private member, like for example, here it is salary. So you just need to provide, you can do it by any getter or setter functions, that is getter set methods. So here, set salary, like to change any value, I'll be just like here I have created an object and I have set the salary initially as 50,000. So set salary is called using the dot operator. Then 50,000 is passed as the value of S, and S is assigned to the salary. So the value of salary will be 50,000. Now if I want to see like what is the value of the salary, so I have created this get salary function and it will just return the value of salary. So here the output you will be seeing 50,000. So what is the use of encapsulation? So why we should do it? So it is considered a good practice to declare your class attributes as private, because that is the only basic concept of class, that is we want to hide the important things that and keep few things private to us, and we are encapsulating in inside a class. Then class here is the capsule, and inside it are the data members. So we want to hide it, and for that encapsulation is important, and it ensures better control of your data, because you can change one part of the code without affecting the other parts. And also, as you all know, it is getting encapsulated, so increase security of data. Next is abstraction. So abstraction is displaying only the essential information that we want to show to the outside of the world and hiding the details. So data abstraction refers to providing only essential information about the data to the outside world and hiding the background details or the implementation of that within us. So abstraction can be achieved by using classes, using access specifiers. So in case of classes, it helps us to group the data members and the member functions using available access specifiers. And a class can decide which data member will be visible to outside of the world and which is not. For example, take a car. So we have access to the gearbox and like we can change the gear and all, but inside the implementation and inside all the wiring of the cars and all, we don't know that. So that is hidden from the outside world. What we see is only a gear inside a car that we have access and we can change the gear. But we do not know how we, after changing a gear from 1 to 2, how it is actually working internally. So the information is hidden. And just like that, we can have abstraction in the classes. So using the access specifiers like the public, private, and protected, abstraction is achieved. So when we we use of this access specifiers is only abstraction, we can say. That is the main pillar of implementing abstraction in C++. So it's just restricts few the data members, like whether the outside world can see or not, and which is accessible to the public and which are protected, like which can be inherited. So advantages are it helps the user to avoid writing the low level code, and it avoids code duplication and increases reusability. Since the beginning, I have told you, like in object oriented programming, the concept is only making our work more easier and no code duplication, and we need to write only same piece of code and we will be reusing that piece of code whenever we need in the future. So data abstraction can also change the internal implementation of the class independently without affecting the user. So here example I told you, like in the gearbox. So internal wiring and all, if there is some fault, the gear will we will be facing some problem. So the internally what all this wiring works is done and all, it is only known to the mechanic. So he will be having access to all those and he will be using without letting us know what is actually the fault and how he has done it. So it is just hidden and without affecting us, the user. The internal wiring can be changed and the internal implementation of the class independently can be changed similarly. So it helps to increase the security again of an application or program, as only important details are provided to the user. So making the important thing and essential information to the outside world and hiding the implementation or the details thereby increases the security. So it's like hiding and showing the important things is only related to the security only. So like here, for example, let's take the class implement abstraction. Under the private access specifier, there are two integer values, the two data members, integer A and B. In the public under the public access specifier, so there are two functions, that is set and display, or you can also say this get, because it is only showing the output instead of returning. So return or show, it is the same value because it will be showing something in the console only to the user. So here in the set function, it is taking two parameters and assigning the values respectively to A and B. And here in the display, it is showing the value of A and B. So both of these functions are inside the class, although it is public, but it is inside the class. So they have access to the private members because inside the class definition, they can have access to each other. So here in the outside, I have created the object. So it is calling the set function and the display function because both of these functions are under the public access specifier. So they can have access, and if we want to change the value of A and B, we are passing the parameters to the set function. But whenever if we write here obj, that is the object dot A and B, it will just raise an error because A and B are private members and they cannot be accessed from outside of the world, that is anywhere from outside of the class definition, that is inside the main function or anywhere outside. Next is inheritance. So From the word itself, it is clear that it means inheriting something from a class. So here, in case of public object-oriented programming and classes and objects, it means inheriting the attributes and methods, that is the data members, from one class to another. So it involves two things. One is derived class and one other is base class. This base class is the parent class from which the derived class or the child class is being inherited. So we are in, for example, here class animal. So here just ignore the something that I have written here, public or something. It is just a part of a class definition. So and again I'm deriving a class pig from animal because pig is only an animal, right? So pig class is derived from the animal class. So here animal class will be the base or the parent class and pig will be the derived or child class. So to inherit, we only this is the way how we derive or the declare. There is a syntax for declaring any derived class. That so here I have written the class keyword and pig is the name of the class we want to inherit, and using this colon symbol and public animal. So what is this actually public? It is again it claims the ownership like it is from the animal class, derived from the animal base class or parent class. And how it is derived? It is derived publicly. We can also write how to, like here we can mention also private or anything like uh, protected. So all the threes are like applicable here, but all the three things have got their respective views. Like here in the public I have a function inside the animal sound, that is the animal sound only, and there is a different statement here, and inside the animal sound there is a different statement here. Like see out here it is the pig says wee and here it is the animal makes a sound. So whenever we create any class or any object of this animal class, it will and call this animal sound function, the output will be the animal makes a sound. And if we create a pig class and we call its animal sound function, the output will be the pig says wee. So it depends on which animal sound function of which object or which class we want to call. So next thing is polymorphism. Polymorphism means many forms and then occurs when we have many classes that are related to each other by inheritance. So the concept of polymorphism arises only where we have inheritance. Because earlier I also told you about function overloading and overriding, and I told you overriding is in case of classes and all, about which we will be learning. So here it is the same thing. Like here for example, earlier you saw the animal example and there was a pig class derived from it. So here I have derived another class, that is the dog. So here and the dog says wow wow and it is a sound. So and under the animal sound function here is the different statement, that is the dog says wow wow. So inside the main function I have created three different objects of three different classes, and I have called the animal sound functions of the respective objects and the respective classes. So the output will be just like that, because in the animal sound there is the sentence the animal makes a sound, and in the pig object the pig animal sound function that is inside the pig one, it is the the pig says wee. So another important thing is like whenever we inherit any class from the base class or parent class, so it's it depends on how the class is derived. So here for example the animal class from the animal class dog is being derived publicly. So initially in the animal function you saw there is a animal sound function as well, so that is being inherited, but it will be not shown here, but it still exists for a dog class because uh, like we humans, okay, so like I have the genes of both of my parents, my mother and father. So just like that their features will be me inside me, but some features will be hidden of course. So just like that, here the whatever we have inside the animal class, the data members, they will be here. We can access them, but we won't be able to access. There are still some principles like how to access the private and protected members, about which you will be learning in the higher classes. So just like that, there still exists the animal sound implementation inside that animal class. But here we have given a different definition to the animal sound function. But still, if we want to access the animal sound function of this animal class, not the dog class, we have a different syntax for that. So inheritance lets us inherit attributes and methods from another class, and polymorphism uses those methods to perform different tasks. Like this allows us to perform a single action in every way. Like oh, one name and different uses, just like that. So one thing has got many forms. Like for example, a word is there exists. Like you can take like classes. Okay. So class normal here also means like students attending the classes. But here in object-oriented programming, classes mean this piece of code, like something we are creating, right? So yeah. So that's the end, and thank you.
So, hey guys, thank you. And that was all from my side. I'm Srilipta here, and I was the one behind all these lectures of C. So, sorry for staying anonymous this entire time, and I hope you learned something and it helped you somewhere. If not, then go back and watch. Obviously, it will help you. So, that's all. And from now, Sushi Saturba will be carrying forward, and let's go ahead and meet her. Okay, so bye bye. Thank you.